Well, right now, millions of illegal immigrants are hoping this will be the year when Washington overhauls the immigration system, providing a pathway to citizenship. But the road to that pathway leads through Washington. So this week, we received two proposals. One, a bipartisan plan from a group of senators. The other, a competing vision put forward by President Obama.
I don't want to turn this into a partisan thing. Let me just say this. If this endeavor becomes a bidding war to see who can come up with the easiest, quickest, and cheapest pathway to green card possible, this thing is not going to go well, folks. We have now a very common sense and reasonable set of principles, and I hope what the President will say today is that he hopes that that process succeeds. But if his intentions are to trigger a bidding war to see who can come up with the easiest process, this is not a good start.
We have to deal with the 11 million individuals who are here illegally. Now, we all agree that these men and women should have to earn their way to citizenship. But for comprehensive immigration reform to work, it must be clear from the outset that there is a pathway to citizenship.
Joining us now, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams and radio talk show host Mary Walter. Great to see both of you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Glad to be with you.
Juan, let me ask you, there are cynics who say that this immigration reform push really isn't about fixing a challenging problem in our nation, that it really at the core, it's about securing future Hispanic votes for the Democratic Party. How do you respond to this?
Well, that's part of it. I think that clearly President Obama won a huge percentage. I think it's close to 70% of the Latino vote. If you throw in the Asian vote, also now the fastest growing immigrant community in our country, you understand how overwhelming the politics are for the Republican Party. But also that the Democrats want to cement that advantage into place. For Republicans, I think they want to get past talk of electrified fences, self-deportation, denial of the DREAM Act to young people. I think they want to get past that and start to appeal to some of the very conservative principles that are widespread in the immigrant community. Widespread entrepreneurships, family values, strong religious beliefs. That they feel is the basis for a group of people who should be Republican voters.
Mary, there are some who say in the conservative groups there that, okay, let's get some of these reforms pushed through on the condition, on the proviso that the people who do receive citizenship ultimately do not get the chance to vote for, say, 10 years or so as a penalty for coming into this country illegally. Would that, you know, have any traction in Congress?
I don't know if that would have traction in Congress, but I do think that this is almost a no-win for Republicans, once again, because if they do hold their ground and they do say that we'll do this, but it has to be contingent first on securing the borders, first on actually enforcing the laws that we were supposed to be enforcing all along. If they make a contingent on that, Obama and the Democrats are going to say that the Republicans are dragging their feet, they're being obstructionists, they don't want to give these people the American dream. But if they don't do it, we're going to repeat history. Reagan believed the left back in '86 and said, okay, we'll do this, and then we're going to fix in exchange for this, we're going to fix the borders, we're going to enforce the laws on the books. And we all know what happened. We are back where we were in 1986. It didn't solve the problem because we didn't stop the flow of illegal immigration. So I do think it's important to secure those borders first, to put regulations in place and enforce them to make sure that we don't wind up with a whole nother generation of people who come here illegally and when we just hand them citizenship again.
You know,
but Mary, let me just, I was just going to say to Mary, but Mary, so much has been done to, in fact, beef up the border security. We now have electronic surveillance. We have more troops on the border than ever. In fact, we see now that there's, in fact, a trend of people leaving the country, not coming in. And I just think you, as a radio talk show host, you know, have got to give a chance to people who say, we do have better border security, and that's the basis now for going forward.
But let me jump in here. Juan, don't you think, though, people across the board would feel more comfortable if they at least knew that efforts were being made to strengthen border security on top of what we have right now, and then allowed these reforms to go through, knowing that no more would be allowed to come in, and we're working right now with those who are right here in the country, and, you know, Americans are basically very generous on that issue, I think.
That's pretty smart, Uma, and I think people are very conscious of the idea that 40% of the illegal immigrants in the country have come through the visa process and just overstayed their visas. That's a different perspective on enforcement than simply saying taller walls, more secure. At some point you have to say, are we just doing this to please people who think that there's a security problem when in fact the numbers indicate the security problem has been dealt with largely?
Mary, you don't agree with that, I assume.
No, I don't. I went to the bank a year ago, Juan. I was standing in the bank on a Friday trying to deposit money into my account, and they asked me for ID. In the meantime, there were 3 gentlemen standing next to me who didn't have ID and didn't speak English. So they were sent to a special teller who okayed the transaction, and they were handed cash without ID. Until we fix that problem, we make it too easy to live in this country illegally. And you're also assuming that people are going to want to jump through those hoops to gain citizenship. It is very easy to live here and not speak English and not be a citizen and still have a wonderful life and still get your children education and still get health care. You're assuming that they're going to want to jump through those hoops and that they're going to want to pay taxes. That's a big assumption.
Juan,
Well, that's the pathway to citizenship. You got to
maybe
pay
they
the
don't want
fines.
citizenship. Maybe they want to continue living illegally and not paying taxes and enjoying all the benefits.
Ultimately, though, Juan, do you think, though, in the end, it's going to be a big showdown between the president and Congress over this security issue?
It could be, but I don't think that either side wants it to slow down this process. I think we're on a fast track, Uma. I think that both Republicans and Democrats see political advantage to getting a deal done and want it done. I think that's why Senator Rubio has been able to persuade so many people on the right, and he's a Tea Party favorite, that this is the time to get it done. And I think from the president's perspective, it's key to his legacy, to his second-term agenda.
And really quickly, Mary, on the other side of this, though, for the GOP, if they do get a deal done, this will hopefully open the door for more Hispanics, perhaps, to take a second look at the GOP.
Absolutely. But what bothers me is, as Juan said, we're on a fast track here. Can anybody tell me how much this is going to cost? How much more are we going to be adding to Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, food stamps, disability, and so on? We're going to ram this through like we did with health care, and 3 years from now, we're going to be scratching our heads wondering why we need more money.
All right. Mary and Juan, thank you so much for joining us with your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Uma.